Who are the PSC commissioners and how are they appointed? That would be, I think, a good place to start. Does anybody want to answer that question?
Sure, I will. PSC commissioners at this particular time are Mr. Phil Montgomery, Mrs. Ellen Nowak, and Eric Castillo. Mr. Montgomery and Ms. Ellen Nowak were appointed by Mr. Walker, and Eric Castillo, Calisco, sorry, was appointed by Governor Doyle. And it's my understanding that I'm not sure their terms, but they are appointed for a certain length of term. I think probably 2 or 3 years. Six years.
Yeah, former State Senator Mark Meyer used to serve on the Public Service Commission, but his term of service came to an end. And I think at this point maybe it is important to add this, what happens with the PSC is they're staggered 6-year terms appointed by the governor, and the attempt is really to try and minimize political influence on the PSC, and that was the idea behind having these staggered 6-year terms for the commissioners, so that they're less subject to the political winds and fate and winds that blow through Madison and the state. There's a couple other questions I'll kind of try and work through here. Will the Amish, the elderly, and out-of-state landowners be informed of this project in time for them to voice their concerns? Maybe that would be done for CapEx 2020. Again, just go back over the notification process, maybe.
Could you reread that question to make sure I heard it right?
Will the Amish, the elderly, and out-of-state landowners be informed of this project in time for them to voice their concerns?
Okay, will the Amish, the elderly, and out-of-state residents be informed? And we believe that we've informed all the people who own property on all the routes. And the way we've done that over the past 3 years is we've had a series of, probably 6 or 8 series of public meetings before we even applied for the permit application. And the way we notice those meetings is we put together mailing lists of all the people that own property along those routes. We put ads in newspapers. We publicized our own meetings. And then when we get into this official state process, they do the same thing. All the people who own land along these routes have been notified by mail. There's the source for that data is the county tax database, and we in the PSC can get access to that tax data. That's the only way that we can get names and addresses. There's bound to be mistakes in that data, so it always happens that maybe 1 or 2 people don't get the notice, and we do our best to get those people through word of mouth, through newspaper ads, and there's been lots of media stories. Just tonight I heard radio and television stories that publicize this meeting.
One of the concerns that we've heard in the community from citizens is that people were not well informed. And while they may have gotten the flyers and they may have gotten the mailings, I don't know, of course. But I know that on the Route 88, people from Highway 35 that goes to the route that goes up to Cream, there were people who were not notified in time, and they got notification of the Rural Utility Service public hearing, I think a few days before the actual public hearing. They had to scramble to get there, and many of them had to come to Centerville rather than go to Alma. So that there has been major problems with notification of landowners. That's what we've been hearing in the community.
A couple more process type questions. And I received a mailing from the power company showing possible line routes. Has there been any change to these possible routes? Any additions or subtractions? That's probably a yes or no question.
The routes that are being studied are the routes that I showed on that map, and those are the only routes that are currently being studied in the Wisconsin process.
I'll follow up that. Is it true that the ATC announced a partnership to CapEx 2020 7 2009 extend lines will cross to Madison? Can you talk about the difference between the ATC and this project?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of confusion out there between the ATC route and the CapEx route. I'll just summarize the differences. The CapEx project is a project that's already engaged in the Public Service Commission's process. They the ATC project, the Badger Coulee project, has not even applied for a permit yet from the state, and we understand that they are about a year or more from even submitting an application. So our project is engaged in the PSC's process. The ATC project is about a year away from even applying. The similarity is where the Badger Coulee or the ATC project would connect into the same endpoint that our project connects into in the Holmen area.
And this one is,
I'd like to comment that if CapEx 2020 does not receive approval from the PSC, there will be no ATC line.